From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Thursday, July the 11th, 2024. Terror group Hezbollah continues to bombard northern Israel with rockets and explosive-laden drones today. And Ynet reports that at least one person, said to be a man in his 30s, was critically injured in a drone attack on the western Galilee that is said to have landed inside kibbutz Kabri, which also caused extensive damage to vehicles and property. The IDF intercepted a number of aerial targets, it said, and responded to the barrages, carrying out airstrikes on Hezbollah targets and terrorist infrastructure in Lebanon. A slew of rockets were fired from Gaza at southern Israel early this morning. The IDF said approximately 5 projectiles were launched from Rafah toward communities near Gaza and were successfully intercepted by the IDF aerial defense array. Shortly after, it said, Israel's Air Force struck and eliminated the terrorists who carried out the launches, saying Hamas continues to pose a threat to Gazan civilians in Rafah and vowing to continue operating in the area to eliminate the threat of this terrorist organization. Intense battles, meanwhile, continue in Gaza between Israeli troops and terror group Hamas. Today, the IDF said it completed its mission in the Shejaya area of Gaza, where 8 terrorist tunnels were destroyed, sharing video giving an inside look at one of those tunnels, showing weapons and equipment, including equipment that enables extended stays and electricity and gas infrastructure that would be used by the terrorists. Israel's negotiating team that has been working towards reaching an agreement with Hamas for the release of hostages now held in Gaza for 279 days are heading to Egypt this evening. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said today that Israel's negotiating team returned last night from a 4-way summit with the mediators in Doha in Qatar. And discussed at the meeting were the clauses of the deal on returning the hostages and ways to implement the outline while ensuring all the objectives of the war. Netanyahu's office said the prime minister held meetings with the negotiating team this morning and that a delegation led by the director of Israel's security agency, together with IDF representatives, is due to leave for Cairo this evening for the continuation of the talks. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was asked about the talks in a press briefing. He was cited as saying there is progress. We see the possibility that a deal will be reached, but we can't know that for sure. Sullivan said our team is in the region to discuss all these details. We think that all remaining issues can be resolved and should be resolved. The signs are more positive today, he said, than they have been in recent months. The European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights released results today from a survey it conducted among Jews in the EU on their experiences of anti-Semitism. The survey, it notes, predates the Hamas massacre of October the 7th, but it said the report includes information about anti-Semitism collected from 12 Jewish community organizations more recently, some of whom reported a 400% increase in anti-Semitic incidents since the Hamas attack. The survey found that 80% of respondents feel that anti-Semitism has grown in their country in the last 5 years, and that 76% hide their Jewish identity, at least occasionally, because they do not feel safe. Director Sirpa Rautio said Europe is witnessing a wave of anti-Semitism, partly driven by the conflict in the Middle East. We urgently need to spread the message of tolerance and ensure respect for the fundamental rights and freedoms of all. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Thursday, July the 11th at 7 o'clock from the Recharging Reform Judaism Conference. Dr. Andrew Rehfeld speaks about how Zionism fits in with his college's goal of providing a liberal Jewish education. He's joined by Rabbis Geri Newburge and Tarlan Rabizadeh for debate. At 8, the American Jewish Committee Global Forum continues with leading Israeli journalists weighing in on the current situation in Israel. plus remarks from Prime Minister Netanyahu and Israeli hero Nasreen Yousef. At 9, it's part 2 of Elie Abadie on L'chaim. At 10, and also coming up next, Shachar Azani speaks with the head of Soroka Hospital in Israel, Dr. Shlomi Kodish, about the hospital's work treating hostages who were released from Gaza back in November, as well as treating IDF soldiers in the current conflict. At 10:30, it's a replay of the news. And that's the JBS News Update for Thursday, July the 11th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.